Yes, this song is called Be the Change, inspired by the words of Mahatma Gandhi, who lived for peace and not violence, and told us to be the change we wish to see in the world.
Welcome to the 100th Monkey Radio with Tom and Ramon. We are recording this on October 16th of 2014. Finally, we had Mercury retrograde strikes again. I mean, if I'm going to chalk anything up to Mercury retrograde, I think this is definitely a prime candidate, Ramon. Mercury went retrograde when we were just getting ready to get this interview in the can the first time, and just all sorts of wires and lines got crossed, and miscommunications and lost communications, and then we go, okay, well, we rescheduled, and we go, we're gonna get it in, and I happened to be out of town and ended up having horrible internet connection, and so we got started on that show, and we just it was unlistenable. I could not do that to you guys, so we canceled again. Mercury strikes a second time. And here we are.
Blame Mercury.
Well, you know, I got to blame something, Ramon. I mean, you don't want me to blame you, right?
That's what you normally do.
Well, yeah, but I normally do that in jest. This one would be serious, dude.
I was born on the Mercury retrograde.
Oh, really?
No, I'm just joking.
Oh, I was going to say, well, no, never mind. I'll leave that alone. I was going to give a friendly jibe, but I'll be nice tonight, kind of. Oh, so you got anything on the news you wanted to plug in tonight before we get rolling, Ramon?
Just that one thing I had saw, again, I don't know how true it is, but it was about this dwarf planet that was picked up on Hubble in our own solar system. That it looked like it was blue and had continents, but it's, kind of far out there. I don't know if it's past Pluto or before Pluto, but they thought it was like a giant asteroid all this time, and supposedly it's a planet.
When did this come out?
I think I saw that last week. They have a YouTube supposedly from Hubble, but I don't know how accurate that is.
I have not seen that.
Everything on the internet is true.
Oh yes, absolutely. The only thing I want to throw out there before we get going myself, Ramon, is energetically, I'm and all of our avid listeners know that I'm kind of an energy fiend, or a sensitive, or whatever you want to call that, and I've never been able to come up with a real accurate label for it, but what's going on right now on the planet, there is a lot of rocking and rolling going on, a lot of changing, a lot of shaking, and a lot of vibrating, and a lot of shifting. And I guess what I'm putting out there right now is kind of a call for level-headedness, and a call for maybe that ability that we develop on our paths to look at things from an objective perspective, or that third-person perspective, before we act, before we step off a cliff, that we don't even see is there. So, and this goes, the full spectrum of events is happening here, all the way from people's personal lives that are being shaken up and changing rapidly, and there's both ends of the spectrum there. There's the trauma and the amazing love stories that are happening out there right now on the planet, and it goes all the way up into the global events that are happening. I mean, if we can all just kind of take a step back and take a little bit closer look at how we are reacting to our lives and how we are reacting to the things that are happening in our lives, and maybe approach it with a little bit different perspective, with that understanding that within everything in this experience there is always a silver lining, and go at it from that way. Looking at it from that positive perspective is going to put that positive energy out there, and is going to be a much higher chance of receiving positive results than just being reactive and doing what society tells us to do. So anyway,
Yeah. Well,
I'm off my soapbox.
Yeah. One thing I want to mention, I'll get on the soapbox. The GMO thing I saw, I forgot what late night TV was like saying, kind of making fun of people who are against GMO and how they don't even know what GMO stands for. And a lot of scientists and people in the media are approaching it as people who don't like GMO are against science, and they're really pushing that. It's like, you can't attack the information, so attack, the people.
Right.
And it's like, if anything, it's the opposite, because the people who realize that the GMO stuff is not good for you is from scientific results on rats and even on the immigrants who grow it. They were like feeding this GMO corn to these poor Mexicans who were like working the farms, and they were getting sick. And then they're gonna sit here and promote like people are against science who doesn't like GMO.
Right.
It's amazing. And then what's even more amazing, people buy that crap.
Yeah.
But anyway, I'm off my soapbox.
All right. Well, we got a real treat for you guys. Like we said, we've been trying to get this show in for a while now, and I'm really very happy that we are able to do it tonight. We have got Karen Tate back with us. And Karen is quite an amazing light out there in the world that is bringing about some very interesting and very dynamic information, and sharing experiences with my chihuahuas that decided to go barking out the door. Anyway, oh my, it's one of those days. Most of us have come to realize patriarchy, rule by male-dominated society, revering solely a male god, is not working for Mother Earth or most of the people on the planet. How do we counter beliefs that there is no option but the authoritarian father? How does society go about making course correction? How do ideas that permeate every level of society, from womb to tomb, boredom to bedroom, voting booth to the workplace, shift into a more fair, equal, and just world of partnership, sharing, caring, and peace? Those are exactly the questions discussed on a long-running radio show, Voices of the Sacred Feminine, hosted by Reverend Dr. Karen Tate. In her show dedicated to the sacred feminine as deity, archetype, and ideal, never before has an internet radio show cast such a wide net to include so many voices whose ideals are in alignment with the sacred feminine libertarian theology. She's got a new book out, Voices of the Sacred Feminine, and that's why I decided to read that little piece off of that book, and because I think we're going to be focusing on that tonight. Welcome back to the 100th Monkey Radio, Karen Tate.
Oh, well, thank you, guys. Thank you so much for having me back. And if you don't mind, I just have to tell you, sacred feminine liberation theology, not libertarian theology.
Oh, did I say? Oh, geez. Okay.
Well, they're in the news so much. They're so loud. It's understandable, but I didn't want to confuse people to think that any of this has to do with the Republicans and libertarians out there.
Absolutely, absolutely. Okay, so Karen, just so for our listeners who may not be familiar with who you are, there's a lot of different experiences that each of us go through that put us on this path to consciousness. And I'm curious, what was it in your life that actually turned your feet towards trying to understand who and what we are?
Well, honestly, if I'm totally honest, when I grew up in the Bible Belt, in the southern part of the United States in New Orleans, and they didn't encourage you to do a lot of critical thinking there. There wasn't a lot of intellectual curiosity. And I didn't ask a lot of the deep questions back then. Although I have to admit, I sort of felt like maybe I had been left at the doorstep by gypsies in a basket, because I never felt like I really fit in there either. I was always interested in ancient cultures and faraway places, and I feel like I was very fortunate that patriarchy and Christianity or any of the Abrahamic teachings, it never really, got their teeth sunk in me. So when I moved to California, I out of curiosity, I took a class on Goddess. And, it was a slippery slope from then on out, because it just opened an entire new world to me, and it has changed the path of my life. I think probably two books were the most instrumental. One was Merlin Stone's When God Was a Woman, and the other was Rianne Eisler's Chalice and the Blade. And I quickly discovered that, it sort of starts on a personal quest. When a woman discovers that there is a feminine face of God, that, our mythology and our history, has swept that under the rug, then suddenly she realizes she was never intended to be a second-class citizen. She was never intended to be in service to God or in service to men. And it changes the whole dynamic, really, when someone realizes that, religion has not actually relegated them as, to an inferior position for their entire life. So that's pretty eye-opening. It really sort of upsets the apple cart and,
right.
Sort of shakes things loose. But even more important, I think, it starts to get the idea across that women can be so many more things than they are told they can be when we live in the patriarchal box. But I don't know, probably the most important of all of this, because they're all important in different ways. They're important personally, they're important for our community, they're important for the world. I think the next thing you find out, at least for me, is how these ideals that come along with the feminine face of God, how they can really change the world into a better place for most of us. Because the discrimination disappears, the sexism, the misogyny, the classism, the income disparities, all of these things, if you're following the ideas of goddess ideals, they shift, and I think that's what everybody's waiting for, this paradigm shift.
Right. Yeah, I want to step back just a second there. In your process, when you actually, you came out to California and you took this course on Goddess, and I'm curious because there's a lot of people that, they may stumble across shows like this, and they're just putting their feet on the path. I mean, there's a lot of people that are really beginning to wake up right now on the planet. I know this from my own personal experience myself, that when I started looking at things, I found that there was a whole lot of house cleaning that I had to do. I'm just curious, was there anything in particular that you would like to share that you found within yourself when the whole religious thing, we don't understand and don't realize how deeply embedded that is in our society and our whole makeup. Things like that were so deeply ingrained that we're really not aware that they're there until we start taking a close look. Is there anything there that you had to go through yourself?
Well, I think I had to get over the anger. I had to get over the anger that I had been duped for 30 years of my life.
Right.
That I had things hidden from me, swept beneath the rug, and I believe intentionally. I had to get past that. That was probably the biggest thing for me, because when you realize that Goddess has really been around and revered by humankind for maybe as much as 35,000 years. I mean, they just found artifacts from Hohlfels, Germany, and they're dated to like 36,000 years. And so much longer than a male god. Then you start to question everything. It really changes how you see the world, because suddenly, if everything you knew and believed was a lie to a certain extent, then you really start to open your mind to other possibilities that may be out there that maybe you wouldn't have in the past. I think that's the best way I can probably answer that. You start to question things more. You question authority. You question, well, what's the motivation behind what you're being told? What's their agenda? Is it to dominate and control, or is it to liberate you and encourage you to empower yourself and be the best that you can be and, live a life of joy? Or is it something, that's trying to squeeze you into this little box and prevent you from being your authentic self, and limit you, and it really starts to make you look at all the institutions out there, whether they be religious, whether they be governmental, whether they be academic. And you really start to want to go delve deep underneath and see what their agenda is, once you find out that, the world, the world can be an insidious place. Right. And you really have to, do what you can to, look under the covers, so to speak. Look what's being hidden from you. I hope that doesn't sound too paranoid.
Oh, no.
No, not at all. We completely understand.
Yeah.
With the feminine aspects, I feel like it's just as damaging to men as it is to women, as far as, you get this idea of the princess, and then this Prince Charming is going to come and sweep you off your feet. And I feel like that when you start the young girls with that mindset, it does huge damage to the young women and the men. What do you think about that idealism of the woman always waiting for this Prince Charming?
Well, I think it's bad for men and women, because it puts women in a position where they don't count on themselves, where they're looking for, the male gender to take care of them, to be the hero, when, they have to do it for themselves sometimes, I think that also puts an awful lot of pressure on the male to always be the hero, to always be the one that has to take care, to, to be in charge. There's got to be stress and pressure in that, where I think what was really intended is like we had in some of these ancient cultures, like Minoan Crete, and some of these other places that we've uncovered through archaeology, that some of these ancient places where they revered a goddess, it was a more egalitarian society, or as a wonderful scholar Miriam Robbins Dexter from UCLA says, an equalitarian society, where men and women had equal roles, and it wasn't one subservient to the other, and that way they can share in guiding their lives or their families or their careers. It wasn't one had to always be the leader, the dominator, the controller, and the other one taking a back seat. I think it hurts both when you're thrust into these these models or these boxes, and you're expected to conform in society. It wasn't that long ago, women couldn't be much more than, nurses and waitresses and teachers. It really wasn't that, that long ago. Right. And you still
and in
have,
many societies it's still like that.
Yes. Yes, or you look at the in the Middle East, some women can't drive, or they can't go out without a male escort. So it's still, very warped in a lot of places in the world. But I think we have to remember that right here in the United States, you have fundamentalists and evangelicals who still tell women that they're here on earth to be breeders, to birth children. Mm-hmm. And, they don't care if they're trying to birth these children past a safe age to do it because, they tell these women, and I know I've interviewed them on my radio show, they say, well, if you die in childbirth, then you're a martyr to Jesus, This is here in the United States. There's a group called the Quiverful Movement in evangelical circles. So it's not just in the Middle East where women are forced to wear burqas. There's things like that happening right here in the United States under Christianity. And, look at Mormonism. Women have to count on their husband to invite them in the afterlife to come live on his planet. Right. Why doesn't she have a planet of her own, for heaven's sake, if that's what they want to believe, Yeah. So, it's it just permeates so many different cultures and religions, this discrimination, this inequality. And, women, statistics show that because of the income disparity that women suffer in a lifetime, that they make almost $400,000 less in their lifetime simply because women don't get equal pay for equal work. $400,000.
Wow, that's a
yeah. I want to say, I forgot to say in the beginning of the show, I want to say congratulations to Malala, the well-deserved Nobel Peace Prize.
Absolutely.
What do you, because I've noticed too, like, it's very easy to see what's wrong, and it's very hard to see what's right. And you got girls like Malala who was brave enough, which I think the average man wouldn't do, is, get shot and then even get stronger and come back at them even stronger. And, to be such a pain to those kind of people who believe in that, women shouldn't go to school and stuff like that, that they have to threaten her because she's really shaking them up. First of all, with no violence, no guns. She was, I think, 15 when she got shot. She started when she was 11. And it's just breathtaking. But there's girls in science that are not even 18 yet inventing things that nobody else can come up with. And I just find it amazing. And what do you think about this generation of women? It's very easy, again, like I said, very easy to see the negative part and very easy to find, but you have to really look to find these heroic type women.
Well, they give me hope, and I really do think the millennials are our hope because, you look at the old folks and, they tend to be the ones that are afraid of change. They want to just keep things the way they are. They support the status quo, even if it means, discrimination and racism and sexism, because, that's what they're used to. And we see right here in the United States, how, Republicans are resorting to voter suppression because, they aren't offering anything to most people. So they have to try to win by keeping people, from the polls, because most people who are brown or black or young or a woman, they aren't voting, for them. And, the millennials, the young people, they aren't voting, they aren't voting for the conservatives either. And I've been reading a number of things, and they say that millennials are the ones that they don't hate government. They want government to work for them. They realize that there's so much that can be restored, to make the world a better place for more of us. So, I have hope that when these young people are actually in office, and that they will mobilize and restore the social safety net. I think they're the ones that have helped the lesbian gay movement. They don't think twice about if their friends are gay. It's just normal to them. They don't think twice if their friends are brown or black. It's just normal to them. And I do believe that they're hope for the future, and I'd like more of them to learn about the sacred feminine, because one thing I have heard is that the millennials are very secular, that they're not into religion or spirituality. And, I can understand them rejecting religion when you see what the Abrahamic religions have done across the globe, for hundreds of years. But the sacred feminine is so much in alignment with their desire for diversity, their desire for, caring and sharing and looking out for all of us, that I think the sacred feminine would be something that they could get interested in and maybe find a value.
Right.
Yeah.
And but speaking about the guys, Ramon, you brought up the guys before. I think men need new role models. Our society shapes our culture, and our mythology shapes our culture. And, when we have a mythology that's just a male god, well, we end up with male leadership and male domination, and everything else is sort of set up to serve men and to serve God. And in this patriarchal paradigm, we end up with male as leader, male as dominator, male as warrior. And what a lot of people are talking about is new roles for men. As men, come into more wholeness and embrace the sacred feminine or the feminine within themselves, they realize that they don't have to be these macho men, these aggressors, these warrior types, these dominators. That isn't the only hat that men can wear, moving forward. Because it's not all about strength anymore, it's not all about endurance anymore. They can become the protectors, they can become the nurturers. And I think, men, maybe if men understood that, they would almost have a sigh of relief, that they don't have, to always, fend off or, always be in attack mode, so to speak, competition and, and all of that. It's got to be a tremendous burden, and, for men to have to live in a patriarchal culture as well. Even if they do benefit the most from it, it still can't be easy.
Well,
yeah, that brings up a great and amazing point. And one of the things that I've noticed with there's a lot of men now who have become the house husbands, and the wife goes to work and they take care of the children and they cook and they clean. I think it does a big thing to men when they pick up those, they learn how to pick up the things that are supposedly only the housewife does. They do the laundry, they cook, they plant the roses, they take care of the kids, they go to the Boy Scouts or Girl Scout meetings with the kids. I think that really changes the man in a huge way. Like, yeah, he's still the protector, but I mean, there's nothing more scarier than a mother of any species protecting their young. So
right.
I think women do that quite well. But go ahead. What were you going to say, Tom?
Well, I want to share what I'm actually experiencing right now in my life. that is directly tied to that divine feminine element that I've been working on nurturing for myself. I've been in a relationship for coming on 3 years now that we first got together, and at the beginning of this year we split up, and we were split up for 6 months. And during that 6 months, we both did a lot of soul searching, and a lot of inner work, and a lot of real self-analyzation, and that masculine attitude, that masculine, that patriarchal indoctrination and training that we all go through really reared its ugly head for me in that 6 month period. I really started to see things from a different perspective for myself. And what I have gratefully and just amazingly been able to, a step I've been able to take for myself through accessing that feminine part of myself, and I went through used meditation and all sorts of different things to try to really access this, was that I am now actually emotionally available, and I'm still, and the reason I want to share my story is because I'm still going out working in that male-dominated world. I work 40, 50 hours a week every week, and then I do the guy things, mow the lawn. I still play that role here in our society, but the benefits that I'm personally have gained from accessing that divine feminine with myself is that I have found such an amazing depth of feeling that I did not know was possible. It's really hard. It's hard for me to describe because it's just so freaking amazing that I can love the way that I love now. I can cry. I've cried more tears of joy in the last month since we got back together. That it's just amazing, absolutely amazing. And I am, I won't put 100% of this on my journey towards the divine feminine, but I'll definitely say that was a huge part of getting me to where I am right now. And I am so freaking grateful that this topic has been on the table in the last couple of years the way it has.
Well, that's beautiful of you to share, and I think the fact, Tom, that you and Ramon can talk about this, so openly and without fear, because some men, I think, hear this and they don't really understand it quite yet, and they think that women want to dominate them, and that's not true. Or, they think the women who are into this hate men, and that's not true. I dedicated 2 of my books to my husband, and we're about to renew our vows. We've been married 30 years. This is a gift for men, really, to be able to feel again, because patriarchy tells men they have to be tough. No sooner they leave the arms of their mother when they're a kid and they get in the schoolyard, and they got to deal with the bullies, and they got to tough it out, and this whole pull yourself up by your bootstraps thing, and it really must be hard on young men, especially if they tend to be, boys who maybe aren't the football star, and, maybe they're into science or they're into the arts, and or they're a little nerdy. I mean, it's kind of cool to be nerdy now since The Big Bang Theory is on TV, but remember before then, if you were a nerd, everybody picked on you and stuck your head in the toilet. Now they're just smart enough to know it's the nerds who make all the money.
Right.
But you know what I mean. Boys had to be emotionless, and emotion was such a a bad thing. You know, women were emotional. You know, we can't have a woman president. You know, she may push the button in an emotional, hysterical fit. You know, when she's you know, having her menses. You know, I mean, this crazy stuff.
Right.
And you know, so yeah, I mean, I think we're all, you know, rethinking what it means to be human beings, and women too. You know, women have taken a back seat for so long. A lot of women have been conditioned to be afraid of this as well. You know, there's a backlash against the idea of the word feminism because it isn't understood. They think to be a feminist and complain that society is unfair makes you a victim, or you know,
or a lesbian,
or a lesbian, or that you're
that's
divisive, or that you hate men. You know, there's so much disinformation out there. I mean, don't forget. I mean, the patriarchy is not going to roll over and play dead. You know, the patriarchy and the status quo, you know, the spin machine out there wants to, you know, hold on to power. So, you know, so they're happy to promote these stupid ideas, you know, that the idea of feminism, you know, is a bad thing for families or humanity, when it's the best thing that could ever happen to all of us.
Yeah. Now, what do you say to the woman who, for example, I've met some women like this, and, you know, there's two different types, and I'm talking about abuse women. You get the one who meets the boyfriend, and he beats on her, and then after a while, she finally realizes and gets out the relationship, you know, picks herself up, and she moves on to a better relationship. Then you get the one who, you know, she gets the first boyfriend, he's abusive, then the second one is worse, the third one is just out of control, and the fourth one almost kills her. And you get these women who fall into the cycle that they always attract these monsters, for lack of a better word. And again, you get men who go through that same kind of situation, and in a way, it's kind of worse for them because they can't say anything to anybody. Where a woman, you know, if it's seen outside, a lot of people will intervene and be like, "Yo, what are you doing? Don't beat your girlfriend or your wife." But anyway, with a woman who's being abused by men, not only the first boyfriend but the other boyfriends, what would you say to them?
Well, you know, it's a complicated subject, and I lived it with my mother. My mother, my stepdad and my mother argued a lot. My father drank. He would occasionally beat her up and throw her down the steps, and we would go stay at my grandmother's house for 3 days until everything cooled off, and before you know it, it was let's make up, and, you know, that cycle went on and on and on for years. So I know something about it because I lived it, but I also know a little bit about it just, you know, because of domestic violence being a big thing, you know, that we're trying to shed light on and overcome. I mean, look at the scandal in the NFL, you know. And you see, it's hard for women when they are at a disadvantage economically. If they depend on the man to keep the roof over their head, then they're really in a tough spot. A lot of times women stay simply because of the economics of the situation. Either they haven't received enough education to be able to go out there and take the kids with them and just start their own life, or you know, it potentially could be dangerous. They say in domestic violence situations, the woman is in the most danger when she is trying to leave. So I think it has to, you know, things have to start in a woman's life. You know, she has to be healthy emotionally before she even gets to that point, because I think then she won't choose those type men, you know. She will look for men that are going to be her partner. She will look for men that will want her to be the best that she can be, not, you know, just literally, you know, the servant, you know, cooking the meals, picking up the dirty underwear, birthing the babies. I mean, now don't get me wrong, you know, maybe some women can really be happy that way. And if they're not being domestically abused and it works for both of them and they're happy, so be it. But if you're in that kind of situation, I would really encourage women to seek some help. You know, try to do what you can to improve your skills so that you aren't trapped in this relationship simply because of the economics of it. You know, there are a lot of groups out there that help.
Oh. Tom, you still there?
I am still here.
As
Karen,
well as the economics.
Sorry, Karen, let me interrupt you. What was the last part she said, Tom?
Yeah, you said there were a lot of groups out there to help, and then you cut out for about 10 seconds there, Karen.
Yeah, I think there are a lot of groups out there that women can tap into via the internet. You know, look up domestic violence. You know, look up battered women's shelters, things like that, that they can help put you on the road to a new life. You know, but you know, you have to be willing to make changes. You have to be willing to step up and maybe get some additional education to be able to leave what's familiar, even if it's a horrible, abusive relationship. You know, I mean, because some women, I think, stay because, you know, that old saying, the devil you know, at least you know what to expect, where, you know, if you walk out of that house, well, you're kind of walking into the unknown.
Right.
But you need some counseling. You need some, you need some social support. You need friends, friends who are going to help you. But it's out there, and this is all part of it, because so many women find themselves trapped in these situations. Look at all the women that have just come to light recently because of the NFL scandal.
Right.
Because we live in a culture where this is normal. And really, it's so funny, because you go back to the myth of Demeter and Persephone. The patriarchal myth of Demeter and Persephone has Hades abducting Persephone and dragging her down into the underworld. Well, feminist scholars will tell you that the original myth had no Hades in it, had no assault, had no rape, had no abduction. And that was patriarchy's way of normalizing that kind of behavior. Zeus, with his philandering, with his rape of human women, that was patriarchy's way of normalizing male domination of females. Because, you go to the myths before classical Greece, before patriarchy sets in, and the myths were different. Hera wasn't the petulant wife always chasing after the philandering husband. And as I said, Hades wasn't even in the myth, much less, in the myth as a rapist and an abductor.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I'd like to just make one comment about this whole subject also, and you kind of alluded to it a little bit at the very beginning. This is a very complicated subject, and there's the full spectrum of experiences that are, that fall within this topic.
I can't hear you.
About. And some of this, which...
Hold on, Tom, she can't hear you.
I hear you now, but I lost you for about 10 seconds.
Oh, okay. I was just saying that this whole thing you kind of alluded to at the beginning here about this whole topic is a very complicated subject, and each situation is unique within itself, just as each of us are unique. And I'd just like to make an observation of experiences that I've been witness to and seen, is that sometimes these experiences and these relationships that people get themselves into, both on the male and the female side, eventually kind of play out to prove that it was designed to teach a person something about themselves, about their own sovereignty, about their own ability to stand up for themselves ultimately. Anyway, I just wanted to make that observation, and I mean, I know because we kind of went towards the abused wife or the abused girlfriend type scenario, and I just wanted to make the comment that this is a much broader subject, and that there are so many different situations, as many as there are people,
Well, and Tom, I mean, I really think that the challenges that were presented in our life, whatever they are, whether it's domestic violence.
Oh, we lost her. Tom, you still there?
I am.
And as we...
Oh, sorry. We lost you for like 10, 20 seconds.
Okay, I was saying, I think when we encounter these challenges, whether they be domestic violence or whether they be other things, roadblocks in life, difficulties, things that we have to overcome. I know this might sound crazy, but in hindsight, I've come to understand that they're really gifts, because they challenge us to grow. They challenge us to be better. These hard lessons make us stronger. It's kind of like that saying, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. And I think it's really true. Even difficult people that we have in our life, I almost feel like it's part of the cosmic design. These people were put in our path to teach us something, even though in the moment, we can't see it that way because we're struggling or we're suffering.
Thank you for that. That's exactly what I was looking for. And you said it much more eloquently than I was trying to.
Yeah. The other side of the coin with the women, speaking specifically about the housewife, that you get some of these, and I've seen it, you get some of these other women who are out in the job market and they're really doing their thing, but then they lift their nose at their housewives. And if you ever done housework and take care of kids, it's one of the hardest jobs you can ever do, and there's no time off, there's no holidays, there's no extra pay, there's
no pay.
There's no pay with it.
Exactly.
And there's no Social Security, where like in some of the European countries, if you stay home and take care of your family, you do earn some sort of a Social Security-like thing,
Yeah.
But I think I know where you're going with that, Ramon. There is sort of a snobbery, I think, between the working class woman and the stay-at-home woman. Remember when, this was a long time ago, so I don't know if you'll remember, but when Hillary made the mistake when Bill Clinton was in office, and she said something about she didn't want to stay home and bake cookies, and that caused a big uproar among the stay-at-home mothers because they took it as if she was insulting them. And, I think a woman ought to do what she wants to do. That's the whole key, what she wants to do, not what she's forced to do. And I think if, and there shouldn't be any, looking down anyone's nose at either choice. But I think the problem is for so long women haven't had a choice. And I think, there are women out there who don't want to be leaders. They don't want to be equals to men. Maybe it's working for them fine just the way it is. I mean, I can imagine if, my husband made $500,000 a year and I didn't have to work and I could sit home and scrapbook all day or, just volunteer every day or, I'd have to do something, I think, that would help make the world a better place. But, if that's what I wanted to do, if I could afford to stay home with kids or whatever it was, there's no reason why anybody should begrudge me that, But I think the problem is, too many women get forced into these roles of housewife and mother and baby maker, when maybe they would make other choices. Maybe they would go to college. Maybe they want to make more than the minimum wage. You have Republicans saying, oh, we don't have to raise the minimum wage. The only people who have jobs like that are kids in school. Well, that's not true. Women are disproportionately affected by minimum wage jobs. And so many of these women are single mothers also trying to raise kids on the minimum wage. They don't want to talk about that. They want to dance around that problem and that issue, So I don't know. I'm sorry. I kind of rambled a bit, but I think getting back to what you said, women should be supportive of one another, and make the choices they want to make. And
yeah.
That's the whole point. If a woman wants to, wants to stay home and take care of kids, if she can afford to do that, all power to her.
Yeah, I think there's also something very important when, at least like you were saying in Europe, in Belgium, the mother gets paid her salary for a year and a half to stay home with the child, and then the father gets paid a year and a half to stay home with the child up to their 3. And from a child's point of view, I think it's important to have either the mother or the father with them when you're being passed around by strangers, unless you're lucky enough to live with the grandmother and the grandfather, which is just as important.
You mean like the kids who have to be in daycare kind of a thing?
Exactly.
Right.
And
yeah.
That's a big thing here in Japan, where they get dropped off at 3-4 months with these bunch of strangers in a room full of other kids, and that's how they grow up, and because both parents are out working really hard, and
yeah.
They're there from 7 in the morning to 5, 6, 7 p.m. at night, because they're forced to work these long hours, which they don't want to work these long hours. They prefer to spend time with their kids. So I can understand when a woman or a man makes the sacrifice to make less money in order to give that care to the child. I think that's more important than making the money to a certain degree.
Yeah, if you can, still keep the roof over your head, yeah, absolutely. And I totally agree with you there. And we hear, here in the United States, the Republicans are great for talking about family values, but they really have lousy family values. They don't, they want to destroy the social safety net. They want to keep people making minimum wage. The only time they ever worry about babies is when, they're in the womb, when they don't want women to control their own reproductive future, and, or they try to deny them, contraception or abortions. That's the only time you really hear them vocal about children. The rest of the time they're cutting food stamps.
Yeah, but even for them, they don't, not all of them, but I'm sure a lot of them don't even raise their own child. Like, they're raised by these nannies who become more mothers than their own mothers.
True.
Or
yeah,
they get sent off to boarding
yeah.
school.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, how much parenting is actually being done by them.
Right.
So you can't expect them to even have a clue what parenting is.
Well, they talk a good game.
Yeah.
Until you look a little bit closer,
Yeah.
and see how they vote and what they, what their lives are really like.
I think anybody can do that kind of parenting. Just send them off to boarding school or have the nanny do all the work. That's easy parenting.
I hear you.
Yeah. So, Tom, how are we doing on time?
We've actually, this is perfect timing. We are at the top of the hour. And Karen, if you would share your website and where you've got, 4 books out now, or is it 3?
I sure do. I have 4 as of this year, Tom.
Congratulations.
Did you want me to mention the books?
Absolutely.
Yes.
Well, the first book was Sacred Places of Goddess, 108 Destinations, and it talks about Goddess and her sacred sites all around the globe. And the second book was Walking an Ancient Path, Rebirthing Goddess on Planet Earth. And that's a good book to start with, kind of. It sort of gives you some ideas about how to live a goddess-inspired life, whether you're an individual or you're trying to bring it into your community. Then the 2 that came out this year, earlier in the year, I had Goddess Calling come out, and the subtitle is Inspirational Messages and Meditations of Sacred Feminine Liberation Theology, and it talks about how ideals of the sacred feminine set us free, basically. And the one that can be ordered now, and it'll be shipped out in probably December, unless you get it from me direct, because I have a little stash of my own, is Voices of the Sacred Feminine, Conversations to Reshape the World. And that's actually an anthology I've edited of radio show guests that have come on my radio show, and we've talked about all of these different alternatives to patriarchy. People like Noam Chomsky, Laura Flanders of Grit TV, Gloria Felt of Planned Parenthood, Father Roy Bourgeois and Matthew Fox, who were, excommunicated by the Vatican for thinking women should be priests or embracing the sacred feminine. An incredible host of people are in the anthology, and to find out more about all of this and my radio show, my website is my name, Karen Tate, KarenTate.com.
Yeah. The other person I would highly recommend, and I would love to get him on this show, is actually Patrick Stewart, the captain of the Enterprise, Star Trek. He was also in X-Men and a few other movies. I don't know if you ever heard that speech that he does, because he grew up in a household where his mother was very abused by the father. So he's a big speaker on battered women, and he's helped in England put up some homes for battered women and stuff like that.
Well, I hope you managed to get him. I'd love to tune in.
Yeah, he's amazing.
All right. Well, this is some really good stuff. And guys, if you're out there listening on the YouTubes, the Vimos, the iTunes, or
telepathically.
Who?
Telepathically.
Yeah, exactly. And you want to check out the second hour, you are going to have to go over to the hundredthmonkeyradio.com, and we have all that stuff over there. We've got hundreds and hundreds of hours of interviews there for you guys to enjoy. So that is the hundredthmonkeyradio.com. And I also urge you to pop on over to KarenTate.com, and she has got just an amazing assortment of information on her website itself, and you can learn a tremendous amount about what we are talking about this evening right there. So anyways, we love you guys, and we will see you in hour 2. Condemnation without investigation is the height of ignorance.
The love you deny is the pain you carry.
All right, namaste.
Freedom's calling, I feel the fire that's deep inside us. Everybody wants change, but tell me who will guide us. To the leaders that pass away, put up your lighters. It's a beautiful struggle, but it cannot divide us. We're the ones that we've always been waiting for. See yourself in the mirror and open up the door. Walk through it and feel the love throughout your pores. Be the light, life's purpose is to feel joy. Metaphysical, lyrical, standing up for truth. The only one to make change is walking in your shoes. Be the example, don't complain about the news. Making music and serving the world with the loo. Now you can be the same, or you can be the change. Find strength from inside, break through the chains. No one to blame, nothing to prove. You create your reality, it's up to you. Be the change
that you wanna see in the world. Like God need live for peace,
aspire to be.
Someone who fights for the beliefs like Martin Luther King.
Aspire to be
that love,
that light,
like Christ,
this light
for the moment indeed.
And if you believe
in Jehovah,
Allah,
Buddha,
Krishna,
it's love to me.
My
soul yearns for peace in a world that's flooded with war. History's littered with body scar, trying to settle the score and maintain an archaic platform of power and greed. People fight for land out of survival and need. So I'm killing my television and I'm planting a seed to fill my head with knowledge that I'm seeing receive. Due to the media propaganda, killing my creed. Or what don't kill me make me stronger, feeling straight when I bleed. Fighting for interest and forward, detached defeat. They try to sell you anything in this world, nothing for free. Land, air, fire, and water, they keep up in the ante, while the anti-proletariat told the powers to be. But we keep fighting, surviving and thriving, recycling and rhyming. We constantly inclining, we see through the lying and prying. They tactically keep trying to keep you from asking the why.
Change that you wanna see in the world, like Gandhi live for peace.
Aspire to be
someone who fights for the beliefs, like Martin Luther King.
Aspire to be
that love,
that light,
like Christ,
live life
for the moment in need.
And if you believe
in Jehovah,
Allah,
Buddha,
Krishna,
it's love to me.
We find solutions, different possibilities, creating organizations like Aspire to Be, inspiring young minds to see, building life skills, nurturing creativity, fulfilling the youth's basic needs, listening actively, teaching the tools to succeed, positive role models, we plant the seed, the roots drink the